Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Views for Build. I'm excited for this one. This is gonna be a good one. Today, Eric and I are gonna finish up the strut towers. Before that, our new seats are in, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out, assemble them if they need to be assembled, test fit them in the car, and then I'm gonna look at some structural cross bracing for our frame to stiffen it up, as well as to hold our seats in there. Should be a fun time. Stay tuned. All right guys, no ads today. It's time to get right down to work. I'm gonna unbox the seats, fold them up. I'm gonna make them shaped like an L, like a seat, and then I'm gonna stick them in the car. All right, so these are our new seats. Well, they're our seats for the time being. These are some Sparco, I don't know, something, there's a letter and a number. I think they're R100s or something like that. They're basically the bottom of the line Sparco seats for basic retail, you know, for applications like what we're doing here. I ordered them because they are pretty much one of the smaller form factors for a reclinable seat, and I thought that was really what we were looking for. So it's the smallest one that they offer. So it worked out well that it was inexpensive, and they look really nice and they're comfortable. But they also should fit. They are a very, very tight fit though. We're still having some issues between the main hoop and the ceiling bar and the halo bar, where I don't want to be banging my head into any of those things, so I want the seat to be in front of those, but I also want the seat to fit and to have plenty of driving room. So, but Eric just joined me and we were looking at it and we both agreed that it's really stupid to be worrying and like sizing these things up right now because we don't have a trans tunnel in. So you can say, and we don't have exhaust installed, so you could say like, oh yeah, well that could go there, that could maybe go there. But really, until you have those things installed, it's not even worth worrying about too much. So we have a game plan though. We will fit these seats, and if we can't fit these seats for any reason, we'll either order some smaller, much more like less comfortable aluminum seats, or we'll build some, which is, I would really like to build some. I think that would look really cool, but that's probably a last resort considering the amount of time that we have left for this build and all that other stuff. But one other thing that Eric and I are gonna look at right now though is I wanna make sure that we both agree on where and how our exhaust is gonna go from here to there. All right, Eric and I spent some time really like looking into this cross section, how we're gonna get the exhaust to flow through and not be the lowest part of the car, and some other things like that. And we figured out a way, and also we figured out how we're gonna build our transmission mounting bracket. We just don't have enough steel right now to build that piece. So that'll be very soon in another episode, because we're really focusing on making this car a roller, and to do that, we need to mount the transmission into the car. So we're gonna move on in the front to the strut towers, and we're gonna continue building the strut tower. Right now, we're gonna focus on developing the piece that comes off from around here, kind of has a slight bend to it, and then it needs to kind of cross right past here and into that tube right there. It's going to come really close to these plugs, and I tested those plugs and made sure they can still come out if we land the pipe at the exact spot where we want it. Sorry, it's a tube, I think. And they still can come out, but it's like just barely. So it's a really tight fit. We're coming right over the top of them into back there. We've got our two cross tubes bent. They're right there and there. And so it's just a small bend right at the end that comes into here, bends around here, and shoots back that way. Now, to match up our cope, we don't have a contour tool that gives us the perfect like cope thing. And before we were just like making lines and then using the coping tool, but Eric left that at home, so we're gonna be hand cutting these copes. Also, this is a point where we want it to look very, very nice. So Eric's gonna be TIG welding this rather than MIG welding this, meaning we need a lot closer clearances and all that stuff on this. So we're trying this little hack out. We went down to the store and we bought some 2-inch tube and we wrapped it around the tube. This is like 2-inch like weird hose stuff actually. And we wrapped it around the tube, taped it so it's nice and tight, and then we smushed this into whatever we're like trying to wrap it around on, make a line, cut it, and then you slide it back over the tube like that, and then you can make your line and make a perfect cut, and you should be all good to go when it comes to butting it up against another piece of metal. So we're gonna try this method and we'll let you know if it works out. It's kind of a cheap way to try and pull it off. All right, let me give you guys a little bit of a status update. So right here is our piece of tube that's all coped up and ready to roll. Sorry, camera won't focus, it's too close. On both sides. And then, so now what we gotta do is fit it to that bar that goes across there, and obviously we can't fit in right here because of the body. So we're gonna take a hole saw, we're gonna punch a hole out of that area that's large enough to give Eric enough room to weld and for this tube to go on there and attach. And then hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be able to tack weld it in place. All right, we got one side ready to go. So this is the thing that we had always envisioned. It comes from here, it kind of comes off that way and then goes over there. So it's like at a diagonal, and both of these are gonna be at a diagonal, and they're gonna add a lot of rigidity, which is nice. We'll then tie this to this later on, but without that coping jig, we are spending a lot of time, or it's kind of more of a coping cutter actually. We're spending a lot of time doing the coping and stuff like that, so we're gonna save these hard ones for another time. But this is really looking cool. Do realize that it's covering up a little bit of the engine. It's gonna make it harder to pull the engine, but we've made sure that it's not impossible. So that's all covered. Yeah, and it's looking really great. We're ready. We got, the other one is already bent, so it needs to be coped on both sides. And we're gonna cope it up and then attach it over here, an exact mirror to that side. All right, so Eric got one side cut and coped over here, and it's matching up. You can see how we got our bend and our matching up with our other strut tower. But one thing that I want to point out is, remember, we did move the engine over, so these can't actually be a mirror. We found that out because there's just not quite enough space. We don't want to make this go over as much as that one is. We'd be plunging it right through that wiring loom, which we don't want to do because those wires actually need to end up inside a box that we're building over there. So since we moved the engine over like 2 inches, this bar is actually going to sit over 1 inch difference. I'm cool with that. You really can't tell anyways. So we're moving forward. We got one cope done. Next cope, we'll tack it in. We were there, we were close, we were getting close. And then Eric went to go ahead and test fit this up here, you know, so I could know where to drill a hole in the firewall. And well, when it lines up there, it doesn't exactly line up there. Ha, we got him. Eric finally screwed up. It's actually oddly been a long night. We need that, what's that called? The tubing notcher. We need the tubing notcher. This is just a waste of time at this point. That's pretty funny to me. Eric never messes anything up. He's super meticulous, so when I catch him doing something that stupid and messing that up, I get really excited because now I get to pick on him pretty much forever and double check all his cuts and copes and just remind him of that mistake. So we couldn't do much more tonight anyways. The TIG welder has gas in it, but not enough gas to fully weld all this stuff. So basically the rest of what I'm doing tonight is just gonna be off camera. I'm just setting us up for a huge win tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go get steel. We're gonna build the cross member that holds the transmission, basically the transmission mount, and then we're gonna finish the front end. So I'm getting steel, I'm getting more gas, we're getting all the supplies that we need to really have a huge win day tomorrow. Because today was a bit of a fail day. But I wanted to just kind of put this out there anyways. We haven't been doing anything for the last few days. I figured, get you guys up to date and prepare for all the win that will be here tomorrow. So We're also learning today the importance of tubing notchers. Like having a tubing notcher, although we don't always notch it 100% perfectly, speeds up our pace of work dramatically. So the one we normally use is one from Eric. I'm buying my own tonight. If you're doing this type of stuff, it's just something you should have. And a contouring gauge too, but those are way overpriced. Some companies should just make their own way cheaper. There's a market there, guys. All right, guys, that's it. It's late. I gotta go home. I will see you tomorrow. Please remember to like and subscribe. Oh, by the way, we hit 400,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much for subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for the support, and thanks for viewing this, and thanks for enjoying this build along with me. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace!